Hi everybody, it's time for an update on the elm that we cut and been following along. It's been about 3 years since we cut the tree down and started processing it and trying to get it dry. So we ended up with a couple thousand board feet. I will put a link up to the playlist if you're just finding this. We had a 70-foot elm tree that died in our backyard, and I was looking at ways to not have that go to a landfill. So did some checking and found some help through a couple of people, and so yeah, that's in the previous videos. Anyway, so it's been about 3 years since we cut the tree down, and it's been out air drying. This elm is not drying the way I was hoping it to. I've got some of the stuff that we brought into the shop here about a year ago. It has still got higher moisture contents than I would like. I would expect it to be in the high teens, or excuse me, in the low teens, and we've got stuff closer to 20%. And so we're trying to see, I'm going to try to see what I can do to try to bring that down. So I've got a couple of projects actually I've got started, and the wood is just not dry enough. So my next step is I'm going to try my hand at trying to dry some of this lumber. I'm going to do a small dehumidification kiln. I've done a little research on it, and it may go well, it may go really badly. So you're going to find out as we go along here. So I'm going to build this thing out. It's fairly simple way I'm going to build it. It's only going to be 4 foot by 4 foot by 8 foot. I'm going to be using some foil-faced foam to hopefully keep the moisture enclosed within this structure, and it'll be opened up on one side, and then we'll be setting up. I'll have a fan in there. I'll have a remote sensor in there that I can check temperature and humidity. And then I've got a dehumidifier, just a household dehumidifier that I'm going to run in there. And we'll try that, see if we can get it to dry down, and go from there. So the other thing is that, and I knew when I started this process that they say that the elm is a lively wood. This stuff likes to move. I did some pre-milling and just trying to get the stuff down from the stuff that when we cut it with the bandsaw and the chainsaw 3 years ago, and that's moving around also. So, so we're gonna get started. I'm gonna build this kiln out, and I'll try to take through and share as much of it as I can. I've never done this, so you'll get what you get. So, so let's start building a kiln, and then we'll see how it works. See if we get these moisture contents down, and then hopefully I've got a table, or excuse me, a workbench, and then a vanity that I have ready for this wood as soon as it's ready. So we'll go from there. So it's been a couple of weeks since I shot that first part of this video. In that time, I went ahead and built out this kiln. It is 4 by 8 by 4. I've got 1/2-inch reflective foam, just on a 2 by 4 frame, and I've got a 60-pint dehumidifier, just a household one that I bought off of Craigslist. And I started out with a small, like 1500 watt heater. Was not able to control that the way I was happy with. Also, I've got a fan that's, you can't see it, normally sits back here to help circulate the air around everything. So I went to heat lamps style. So I did 3 lights. I've got 2 125s and a 250 lamp set up here, and was trying to get a way to control that temperature, and because of the heat coming up and down in the shop at night, this is at 40 degrees during the day. If I'm in here working, it might be 60, 65. So being inside, it's really hard to control that temperature. So one of the things I was able to find is this, so Will He, found it on Amazon. I'll throw a link on the in the description down below. And this has a probe that goes inside and will monitor the temperature. And what I can do is I can set it within 1/10 of a degree to come on and off. So I put that in there, turned all 3 lights on, and then I set it, its range was, it would come on at 119.1 and shut off at 120 degrees. And ran that for about a week. And it stayed just dead on, didn't matter whether I was, 40 degrees in the shop or 60 degrees in the shop. So this worked out really well and kind of dummy-proofed it a little bit more for me. So I ran it kind of trying a couple of different things for about 2.5 weeks, I believe. The first couple of days I got water out of the dehumidifier and then it stopped. Now a lot of this wood that I put in there, I've already unloaded it and I started reloading it again. Had about 115 board feet in there of the elm, and that was running anywhere from 15 to 25% moisture. And then after running the first week, just kind of up and down in temperature. Humidity on, I've got a remote sensor I'll grab here in a minute that I could monitor the inside temperature and humidity and have that report via Bluetooth my phone. So I was able to go from about 20% humidity, and when I got done after the end of those couple of weeks, the relative humidity inside this at 120 degrees was just at or below 6%. So really dry. Shut it down. It's sat now for a week just because other things going on. Opened it back up, and then I pulled out a bunch of this stuff up here is actually stuff I pulled out. Most of that is running in the, I think the lowest I saw was just below 6%, and the stuff that I left out was in the higher 9s. Anything above that, I put back in the kiln. I'm going to run it again. And then I've got some cookies, and I've got some 4-inch maple slabs here that I'm going to throw in there, and I'll turn it back on for the next couple of weeks. I may go ahead, I've got some cookies that have been sitting inside for, they've been sitting underneath a couch for the last year, and it's still $17, 20. So it's still running in the, that high teens. I believe this one's a little bit less. 18, 15, 20, 18. So I'm gonna put those in there, get those dry. I might check after about a week. I'm gonna have those on the top of the pile, and then just pull this cover back off and check that. So yeah, so we're gonna load it up some more, but I was real happy I was able to pull about half the stuff out of there, and that stuff's ready to go. And then I do know that some of this maple that I have has some insects in it, so I will do a period that I'll probably run this thing at about 130 degrees towards the end to try to kill all the bugs and insects and larvae that is inside this stuff. But I know for sure you can still see this wood's about 4 years, maybe 5 years old that it's been cut, and you can still see where they're still active and in there. So makes for pretty looking wood, but you don't want bugs in the house. So yeah, so let's continue on. All right, we're back. It's been a week since I closed up this kiln and ran for the second time. I added some new wood in there. I left some wood that was still wet. And everything that was in there for the first time, which is this kind of this lower stuff in here, that stuff's dry. This is sitting 8, 9, 9. That stuff all back in there is dry. There's a piece back in here that when I put it in, I put a mark on it. I've got a mark in there and it says 28. It's at 10.2, and that's after a week. Now this stuff did sit inside for a while, and I didn't get all the way into it. I just checked it, but that was one I just put in for the first time. So that's sitting down at 10. It's really interesting with the elm that trying to get everything even in the drying process is, I have a bunch of different sizes of wood, so it makes it harder to, I know a lot of guys will set up like even boards, and that's great to load up, you know, a bunch of 1x6s that are 8 feet long that are an inch thick and put even spacing on it and get your fan set up. I've got stuff from in here that was from 3/4 of an inch to 4 inches thick, because that's what I have and that's what I need to dry, and varying lengths. So I've tried to space everything out the best I can, try to keep circulation in there. Some of the maple that I put in, there was some 4-inch maple. You can see there's 2 slabs on the top there. Those I didn't know what the was in there, and they're now running in the, now that was stuff that was air dried outside for a number of years, and it was frozen and like soaking in wood when I brought it into the shop, so there was no good way to get a good sense of what that was at. So that's down actually pretty good, and I'm gonna let this stuff sit. I may run it a little bit longer. The cookies that we ran last week, and if you, I don't remember exactly what these were at, but 9, 9, 9, 9. Those are all running in the 9s. 9, 9. So that's actually pretty good. This one is a little bit thicker, or a little bit thinner, excuse me. 8, 6, 7, 7, 9, 8, 5, 9, 8, 9, 8, 1, 9, 9, 8, 3, 8, 6, 9. So I'm going to call that good with those. And yeah, so overall I've been less, time into working on this has been less than a month. And one of the things happened in the last week, and I don't quite understand what happened before and why it's happening now. So the dehumidifier is the best I can tell is it has a cutout switch at about 130 degrees. So it'll just shut itself down and then come back at about 120 degrees. Now all week this thing's been up and down between about 120 and 130 degrees all week, sometimes a little bit higher. I think I got up to about 138 degrees. So humidity got down into in the 3% range in the relative humidity in the space. And then this is, I said earlier, I've got this Govee little remote sensor that just sits in there, and then that reports it back and graphs to me what's going on with temperature and humidity within the space or wherever it's sitting. So yeah, so I'm pretty happy overall. Back to the dehumidifier. I don't know why that was running high, but the previous time, I don't know if it just cut out and it was running off heat lamps, and then it kept consistent, right about 120 degrees. This week it never got down to there, or very rarely got down there, unless I unplugged the dehumidifier. So I'll do a little bit more looking into that and see if I can figure out. But for a basic kiln for a small shop, this is working well for me. I'm going to wait to reload this. I have some slabs that I need to load in here. I've got some about 2.5-inch slabs that are probably, I've got some 60-inch slabs that I got to get in here. I've got a tabletop that I'm doing for a customer. I'd like to get that down, but there's, like I said, one piece that's still a little bit wet in there, but we're going to let that go, and I think I'm going to wrap this up. This video is starting to get a little bit longer, so any questions, comments, leave them down below. I'm learning as I go here, so hopefully you got something out of it. If not, I'm sure there'll be people to tell me what I've done wrong as that happens, and I'm fine with that. So, and I may or may not agree with you. So we'll let it go at that, and thanks for watching, and yeah, I hope to start making some more videos here soon. Take care.